He's always ready to bring it, and we appreciate him joining Fansided and the Baseball Insider podcast without my guy Robert Murray because he was afraid of Kevin Millar or something. Kevin, you're working with Twisted Tea. You got a brand new flavor for Red Sox fans who, of course, want to celebrate you always for the 04 World Series, which will forever be my favorite Red Sox World Series. And by the way, I see that Cub helmet in the background here because we're a Chicago-based Fansided, so there's that too. But tell me about Twisted Tea, the new flavors, and say hi to the Red Sox fans out there.
I'm going to tell you right now, we got a Twisted Tea, a hard iced tea. So we know bottom of the eighth at Fenway Park, we got Sweet Caroline. Da, da, da. Now we have Sweet Cherry Lime. Da, da, da. But we got 5% alcohol. It tastes amazing. Be careful now. You might get rosy red cheeks after about 3 or 4, but it's an unbelievable tasting drink. And so, yeah, I'm a fan.
Have you been to a game at Fenway as a fan?
Yes. And it's pretty remarkable because, as a player, you're there early, you're coming down through the tunnel, you're in the clubhouse, you go play the game. That's what you do. And then you go to Fenway the first time as a fan. It's pretty amazing because you kind of see everything. And as a player, you're out there, your head's down. You might have ground on the dog play. You're kicking rocks over there at first base, but you realize that all eyes are on you, and it's just being a fan of the game. I grew up a Dodger fan and listening to Vin Scully as a kid. And then you go play for the Red Sox and the East Coast passion that it brings in that organization. I mean, there's nothing better. And I don't say that biasly. It's just Wrigley Field and Fenway Park are the two old stadiums left. And I always love those because you walk out of that dugout and you see, where Ted Williams played and the Green Monster and all the great rivalries and the games that have gone on there. And I think, I was blessed to be a part of that great rivalry from 03, 4, and 5. And obviously winning the World Series in 04, breaking the 86-year curse was pretty amazing.
So the reason why I brought it up outside, I've been to Fenway once. I live in Chicago, so spent many years at Wrigley. But Fenway, you can walk out and you can get drinks, and then you can walk back in. It's quite a nice touch there, outside of the monster and everything else. But that little accoutrement, it's and you can go have your Twisted Tea. It's all right there.
It's the largest bar in all the sports, right? Fenway Park. You got 36,000 people sitting there, and everybody's got a beer and everybody's got a Twisted Tea now. So you're going to go ahead and start singing that Sweet Cherry Lime.
There we go. So you were on a team that broke an 86-year curse. And so I just want to answer the curse thing because I never believed in the curses, but I did believe that if you played on a team that hadn't won for a long time, like Boston, there was more pressure on the players. And the fan base, the nervousness of always coming up short somehow would permeate the field. Did you feel that? Was there something, I know you were behind the scenes, you were a super positive guy, trying to overcome whatever, not only what was on the field, but everything. But was that a real thing where there was more pressure there?
Yeah, because you heard it. Every article, every interview was about this 86-year-old curse and how the Red Sox going to blow it. Fever Pitch, the movie with Drew Barrymore and Jimmy Fallon, that script was written how we're going to lose the game. The Red Sox ultimately end up losing. Well, all of a sudden it got weird because we're down 0-3. We're down game 4 to the New York Yankees. We come back and win 4 straight from them and then go into St. Louis and sweep them. And so they had to change the script. And next thing you know, I look over when we're winning, I got Drew Barrymore and Jimmy Fallon who weren't supposed to be on the field. So that was all real live stuff. They jumped the fence and they're over there making out. And I'm looking over going, this is amazing. So you feel the pressure. You understood what it was all about. But you also, my thing to the media was like, we weren't those guys. This is a new group. Billy Miller, non-tender from the Chicago Cubs. The year before, wins the batting title in 2003, hitting 9th for the Red Sox. Like if somebody says, who won the batting title in the American League? Not a lot of people can remember. Billy Miller did. And so Theo Epstein, a 28-year-old GM, the youngest in the history of sports, comes in and gets a guy named David Ortiz from the Twins that was non-tendered. And then he comes in and turns into Big Papi, Todd Walker, myself, Jeremy Giambi, rested, his soul. It was just Theo had a way to bring in some baseball players, and the media didn't know who we were, and it was kind of like, who are these guys? And next thing you know, a few years later, they're the same guys that were hoisting the World Series trophy and broke this curse. So I always say we weren't the best team. I mean, we weren't the best players. We were the best team, and it was a group of guys that cared for each other and really were a tight niche. And that was the difference, I think, with our squad and most others, is that we were deep in dinners and bars and together, and it was something unique because you didn't see that a lot.
If you had a vote and somebody said to you right now, Theo Epstein, commissioner of baseball, Rob Manfred out, what do you think?
Oh, that'd be a tough one. I mean, obviously, Rob Manfred, listen, when you're the commissioner, it's a tough job. You're going to have a lot of opinions and all this stuff, and it goes with the territory. Theo Epstein is very smart, very awesome. I'm very close to Theo and Rob, and Theo, he took a chance on me, and I was non-tender from the Florida Marlins. So there's always a special place in my heart for Theo because of that opportunity. He brought me in and got a chance to play for the Red Sox, one of the greatest organizations in baseball. But I think, them being together is a great team. And I think that Theo can help Rob and Rob can help Theo. And, as time goes and Rob grows older, maybe Theo becomes the next commissioner of baseball if Theo wanted to do that. But I think right now they're doing great, and they're a great team. And we got baseball finally. The labor deal got done and players could just take a deep breath. We had a shorter spring training. I know the struggles out there offensively. People are throwing 1,000,000 miles an hour, but I think baseball's in a really good place. The parity, it's going to be a fun year.
Do you think they rush guys on the field? Were you worried about that and the way it's playing out right now, Kevin?
I don't. And the reason why I say that, Mark, is because when you're talking about, people always ask me, how many at-bats does it take to get ready for a season, right, as a position player? And, 25 to 35, 40 at-bats, that's a couple weeks. The last couple weeks of spring training, a lot of us were like, when's the season going to start? Let's not get hurt. And now, we wanted to go. So this year, you look at a 3.5 week spring training. I thought the pitchers would be behind. That's not the case. I mean, you got guys like Justin Verlander, who came off Tommy John, who hasn't skipped a beat, and Max Scherzer and Clayton Kershaw just became the all-time Dodgers strikeout leader, passing Don Sutton. You have some guys now that are just the mainstays of just starting pitching, and they're veterans. We're losing some of the starting pitching because it's like bullpen by committee, and you're having these specialists come in at high leverage situations. That's unique. When I played, and that was in 10 of my last year, I got released with the Cubbies, is that, you had a chance to make the adjustments your third time around. You don't get a chance to see the starting pitcher very often 3 times. And I think that's the difference of this game. And so why you see the shift and these specialists coming in, it's going to equal struggles for offensively. But I don't think anybody was rushed back. I thought the pitchers at some point might have, had to build up their innings, but seems like they're doing great and everybody's throwing 1,000,000 miles an hour. And we just saw a guy, we're in Tennessee, throwing 105.5 mile an hour pitch. The power is unbelievable.
Yeah, what do you think about where we're going here? And I want to ask you a Clayton Kershaw question, but since you ended up with that, like, I get it. Velocity. Let's lift weights. Let's I'm hearing David Ross, who's, well, we don't want to upset our pitchers are handling it because we don't want them to go too deep in games. If we had to take them out at 4 1/3 because we're worried about their health. And I'm like, 4 1/3, you're worried about their health. Like, I mean, where are we going here? I don't know what you think the future of baseball looks like, and you're shaking your head. No, it ain't. It's a little bit disturbing, right?
Yeah, it is. We have so much information now given to all of sports. I mean, golf, the spin rates and this and that, launch angle. You're like, and now you got all these words that are in baseball. Launch angle, that used to be an uppercut. Now we have a pretty word that says launch angle. Great, whatever you want to call it. Did he hit a home run or not? Starting pitching, yeah, it's definitely, we're not going to see a 300-game winner anymore. I mean, that's gone because you don't have a chance to win that many games because, like you said, guys are 4 and dive. They're 4 and out, and that's part of the process because you got a guy coming in that's going to face 3 hitters that throw 100 miles an hour from the left side, and then you got a guy coming in the next inning that's going to throw 100 miles an hour from the right side. But that's where it's changed. It is the greatest cat and mouse game in all of sports, is the pitcher versus the hitter. But you don't get a chance to make those adjustments like you did. And I don't know where that, how that settles if I was a starting pitcher. Like Roy Halladay, the great Roy Halladay always said, you want to give that bullpen 5 outs, 6 outs, 4 outs. You don't want to give the bullpen 12 to 15 outs. It's like that DB in the NFL. Like, he usually was a receiver, but he can't catch, or he would have been a receiver. He can cover you, but the reason why he's a defensive back is because he didn't have the hands. So the bullpen guys, they all used to be starters. But the reason why they're in the bullpen is because they can't start. So now you're giving these guys 15 outs to try to save a game for you to get a W. And, pitching to contact is gone. It's all about power. It's all about strikeouts. It's all about boom, 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 boom. But you got high pitch counts now. You got 100 pitches in 4.5 innings. Now it's hard to get to the 7th.
See, personally, I would widen the strike zone. You're going to get more strikeouts that way. But I think guys will listen. If it's at the letters and it's down to the knees, then I think the focus starts to become put the ball in play versus put the ball over the wall. And all of a sudden, yes, there will be Ks, but now we have a lot more movement. Does that make sense at all?
Well, yeah. I mean, you got Angel Hernandez who widened the strike zone the other day against the Phillies and the Brewers, and we saw Kyle Schwarber defend the Brewers side and the Phillies side. I don't know if the widen the strike zone is the big problem. I just think the game, where it's at right now, we have massive shifts. Brian McCann's a great friend of mine, and the last few years of his career, he said it was hard. It's hard to kind of sit here and look at 6 guys on the right side, right? And people are, why don't they just go to the, lay one down? Well, you and I go to a game, Mark. We don't want to see, Barry Bonds lay 3 bunts down. You go there to see him do what he does, and that's hit home runs. So it's a little easier than said, but we are in a weird time with shifts and high pitch counts and max effort and throw as hard as you can, rather than the Greg Maddux of throwing 87 to 89 and hitting that Nats behind from 60 feet, 6 inches and hitting your spots. I know it drives John Smoltz crazy because the stuff plays, but guys don't know how to pitch at times. They just throw as hard as they can.
Well, the Braves you're bringing up is an interesting one because back then, 90s, Tom Glavine, he's 6 inches off the plate. Yeah. And he's getting that call all day. Yeah. Catcher set up there. Well, that's Glavine. And, and those guys took advantage of it. And now people are freaking out. And I look, Angel Hernandez should not be umpiring in Major League Baseball. I think that's obvious, but I don't know. Like there's something to be said to like, if you can hit this, then an umpire is allowed to determine his zone for the day and hitters have to adjust. And that's just quote unquote part of the game. I don't know if that's maybe they're missing a good thing there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it makes sense because I faced the Braves coming up at the Florida Marlins. They're in our division, and I had to face Maddux and Glavine and Smoltz being the power guy of those, the 3-headed monster. But Glavine and Maddux had the most unbelievable, impeccable command. So when you're able to hit, like you said, 3 to 5 inches off the plate, if it's 6, and you're able to hit that consistently, you're going to get more calls. And I think that's where guys like John Smoltz learn to repeat your windup. Kyle Hendricks, he's a lost art, right? He pitches for the Cubs. He's like the poor man's Greg Maddux. But right now, we're even in kids in colleges, like it's the radar gun. How hard do you throw? Can you pitch? I'm looking at, can you pitch? Can you play the game of baseball? Yeah, this guy's got most power in the world, but can you hit good pitching? Can you drive in a 2-out RBI? Can you choke up with 2 strikes? Watching Miguel Cabrera, he still chokes up. He's one of the greatest hitters to the right-hand side that we've ever seen this game. So we're losing that sometimes. I think that the art of hitting 0-2, 1-2 doesn't mean we swing like it's 2-0 and 3-1. And that's what we're seeing with these young hitters is that they don't care about striking out. I hated striking out. I felt like he got me. I wanted to put the ball in play, and I couldn't run a lick, Mark. Still can't run a lick. But it was that cat and mouse game, like, no, 2-2, sitting soft. Okay, he got me with a fastball in, or but not swinging like it's a 2-0 fastball every single pitch.
So on one side of the modern of what I love it. Put the ball in play. Nobody wants, you walk back to the dugout, you strike out. It feels terrible in high school where I was, or I'm sure it feels terrible in the majors with 40,000 people watching you. But Shohei Ohtani, Kevin, I've never quite understood it because the best player on the high school team, he's the pitcher and he hits bombs and he's incredible. But for some reason, we can't do it on the big level and it's all specialized. And then here comes this guy, like, oh, actually somebody can do it. And now it's, he might miss his next start and this and that. And maybe it's just better if he was an outfielder / DH. Where do you want to see him continue to do what he does? Could more people do it? How do you look at the whole Ohtani experiment, if you will?
I love it. And I spoke to Joe Madden in spring training. And I said, what I love about it is you allowed the reins to come off. I get so sick at the big league level. Like we have these reins. You only can go a certain amount of times or you only can do it a couple. No. How do you feel? You feel good? Go hit. He hit 40 plus home runs. He stole 20 plus bags. He won 10 plus games. It's something that we haven't seen. We've heard about Babe Ruth, but I didn't get a chance to see Babe Ruth. We're getting a chance to see the greatest athlete that this game's ever seen because he does everything on the field better than everybody else. When he's on, he's throwing 100. He's got a split finger. He's got a breaking ball. He's unhittable like a Jacob deGrom on his good nights. And then he hits the ball like Mike Trout, so this isn't fake good. There's some players that pitchers think that, if we gave Madison Bumgarner, 400, 500 bats, he'd hit 20 plus home runs. I don't know if he would because there's an adjustment period to hitting. You're not just getting the old pitcher fastball, right? You're going to have to hit everything else. And that's what Ohtani's done. Remarkable, remarkable talent, faster than you think, bigger than you think. And he does everything awesome.
Let's wrap up with this. And Kevin, I really appreciate the extra time here working with Twisted Tea. Get yourself one, 5% alcohol, tastes delicious. Get involved. Do we think, as we look at the early season standings, who's built to last here? I mean, are the Twins for real in your mind in the AL Central? Do you think the Mets are going to be there? Who of this, at least somewhat, New York's not as much of a surprise as Minnesota, but who of the early season success stories are you buying into?
I mean, kind of the Angels. Their starting staff, first thing we would say would be like, can they pitch, right? We know we want to see Ohtani. We want to see Mike Trout on the big stage. Rendon comes back, maybe has a full healthy year, but offensively, they got Ward that's been unbelievable. He just won Player of the Week. Taylor Ward, I believe. And, they have some guys and role players that need to step up and have big years. Then you can go ahead and have your Ohtanis and Trouts that mix in as stars, but their starting staff, Noah Syndergaard's done great over there. Michael Lorenz has done great over there. So you have some guys that might be better than we think. So can they maintain? Yeah, why not? Grab some confidence, keep playing, and see what happens. The Twins, Bronco Baldelli's done a great job. The White Sox have the injury bug. Eloy Jimenez is out for 68 weeks. Lance Lynn hasn't thrown a pitch because of knee surgery. Yohan Moncada hasn't been, healthy. So go ahead and keep winning games until they get healthy because I still think the White Sox are going to be a team to mess with. And we have a long year. We have 130 plus games left, right? April, we don't win the World Series in. Braves were the World Series champions last year. We forget they got off to a really bad and slow start. And in August, I think we're below 500 and then boom. So that's what you're waiting for is these teams to get healthy and go. But I do like the Twins. But once again, their starting staff, can they hold it? Dylan Bundy's been unbelievable for them. And you got the Brewers that no one ever talks about, that three-headed monster with Peralta and Burns and Woodruff, who got off to a slow start, but they can pitch. And Josh Hader hasn't given up an offensive, an earned run. So can they hit enough to get to where they finally want to get to? They got beat last year by the Braves. So it'll be a fun time. Padres have played great without Tatis, and they're in the West. And we only want to talk about the Dodgers, and they're in second place. Giants have won 107 games last year. We didn't think that was going to happen. They just keep winning games. So there's a lot of good things happening. The Mets and Showalter, obviously. It'll be a fun year.
Just a memo to Major League Baseball as we say goodbye here, because I was at the Sox game on Sunday watching them play the Angels. You got Trout hitting second and Ohtani hitting third. Promote the living hell out of that. It's, I go to baseball, sunshine, beer, hot dogs, see my team play. I don't care who they're playing. But when you walk in and there's Mike Trout, modern day Mickey Mantle, wherever you want to put him, and there's Ohtani, Babe Ruth, those two should be on every billboard across the country right now, just selling the game.
100%, Mark. Appreciate what we have. The problem is West Coast, right?
Yeah.
You kind of don't see us third or fourth at bat because the writers are probably in bed by that time. It's 11 or 12 at night. The stories are in. Could you imagine them on the East Coast? It wouldn't stop. And you're right. Enjoy what we have because you don't have seen this. I mean, Ohtani, You haven't seen this. Mike Trout is one of the greatest that this game's ever seen.
I mean, I just, it's rare that I'll, go to the bathroom middle of the game, never think about who's coming up. Those guys didn't want to go.
You better not.
It's not the time. Hey, Kevin, great to see you, man. Really appreciate it. Awesome work as always. Really enjoy your stuff everywhere. So thanks.
Hey, Mark, appreciate you having me.